India has pinned a lot of hope on its demographic dividend, and in fact, the country's median age is likely to be 37 by 2050. India seems to be in a sweet spot compared to the other economies as they get older. But if you take a closer look at the numbers, you realize that the share of educated youths among the total unemployed people stands at 65.7% in 2022. Do you think India risks squandering its demographic dividend there?
I mean, look, the demographic dividend was always an opportunity, not a certainty. Uh, you know, it's true that many East Asian countries did well. It's true that China took advantage, but it was never something that was a certainty. I mean, we had to do a lot of things to take advantage of first and foremost, we needed to provide them with good quality education, and we needed to provide them access to jobs. We've done neither. So if you've not done the basics, then it's not at all surprising that the demographic dividend might elude us. And it goes back to the bigger problem of how do you create jobs, especially how do you create labor, especially by promoting labor-intensive manufacturing. We missed the boat, many years ago on labor-intensive manufacturing. We specialized in services, but we know that services can only provide a small, minuscule fraction of the jobs that are needed, because by definition, these are very high-skilled activities. So high-skilled services will give you growth, but it's not going to give you inclusion, right? And to get inclusion, and that's why I think we do have now an opportunity. The China plus one is a real opportunity, because now investment is fleeing China. Some of it is coming to India, like Tamil Nadu as well. But we need to do much more to attract these new investments, especially in these labor-intensive sectors. We've become a little bit obsessed with semiconductors and high-tech stuff. I mean, we need to find ways of getting this investment in labor-intensive manufacturing. The window is small and narrow because it's not going to remain for a very long time. And it's also true that we're never going to become a manufacturing powerhouse. If you look at our share of global exports in labor-intensive sectors, China at its peak was 45%, let's say, of global exports. India's share is 4%. We will never get to 40%. Our economy is not geared to that. But even if you get to 10%, it's a huge thing. And yet we don't think in terms of this. All the debate now is, consumption is weak. But, why can't exports be a major source of demand? And therefore, what do we need to create that? And, if I were the Prime Minister, I would really, get together with 7, 8, 9 states, which have relatively cheap labor, and say, look, let's sit together, let's attract investment in these labor-intensive sectors and create the conditions, whatever we need to do, including to minimize risk, for example, for these investors. You can't attract investors and then suddenly change your policy in favor of big groups, suddenly say, I'm going to do an ED raid on one of these investors because for whatever extraneous reason. You have to have some stability and certainty of policy. But we do need to make a push as a country, by which I mean the center and the states, to attract investment in this low-skill manufacturing.